Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to be with you on today. Today, we are going to be talking about something that to me is not only the most important thing to know about a credit card, because if you are going to go, as I would say, to the best scores that you could possibly get, it's going to be critical and important that you literally now position yourself for that in your daily process. So, today I'm going to be talking about something that is extremely important, something that I created so that my clients would be able to be successful in navigating to what I consider to be the best position to be in the credit profile. So we want to get you to a 760 credit score. We want to get you there the most strategic way, and it doesn't matter where you start. So I'm going to start you from the very bottom. We're talking about the 4 tiers of credit. You need to know where you are, and where you are will determine what you should be doing. I want to welcome you in as you come in on today and watch this, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching a recorded version of it. I want you to make your comments. Check out the description. There's great things there. We help people get their credit straight. We help business owners get their businesses structured properly. We help you get them funded. And we move you forward even to the level of a need for coaching or whatever it might be so that you can have the level of success you're looking for. So I'm excited today to get into this. I'm going to be sharing actual PowerPoint in this today because I want you to get it. So get out your pencils, get your paper, get your pen, take this down, come back and visit it. You got to get this one thing down regarding your tiers of credit. So we're talking about the 4 tiers of credit. There's no way around it. First thing we've got to understand is what are the 4 tiers. So first and foremost, tier number 4 is a credit score of 579 and under. And this is what I call survival credit. This is where you are, 579 and below. So if you're watching me, you're 579 and below, you're tier 4 credit. Tier 3 is 580 to 630. And this is where there's awareness. You need to really be on point with what's going on with your credit. You need to be on point with what your opportunities are, your options. This is not going to work if you're not on point. So you got to be aware. Tier 2 is 631 to 680, and there's great opportunities here because this is where things get accelerated because your system is now being read properly by the algorithm. And then there's tier 1, 681 to 850. This is the tier where hopefully we learn to leverage our good credit so that we can get in our lives the assets that will put income into our lives. Now, in order to go today, I want to start with tier 4. And a lot of people who come to me for help, this is where they start. I've had people come in the 400s, low 400s. I've had people come in the low 500s, people in the mid 500s. So 579 and below. You're experiencing all types of denials because you're considered a high risk. This is the danger. If you're in tier 4 credit, most often you do not understand the credit system. And so you're doing things, trying to get ahead, trying to possibly a lot of times get approvals, not realizing that because you are considered high risk and your score is in the lowest level of credit scores, you may not get those approvals because you don't understand a strategy. But listen, I want to encourage you today. This is not a stop. This is simply a point to get understanding. And once you have understanding, you know exactly what you need to be doing. So on tier 4, here's what you do. We've got to fix the negative items. And that's where, in my case, my business, we help people get those things fixed. but there's things you have to do. One, you can't be doing late payments on things that already exist in your life. But here is a strategy. The first thing I want you to do is add a secured card to your credit profile. Now, listen, you cannot apply for anything other than a secured card when you're 579 and below. Because if you get approved, it's going to be for a suppressed credit limit and it's going to mess up your journey. So at 579 and below, we're going to apply for a secured card, and I am recommending two. The first preference is the Discover It secured card. However, some people do get denied this secured card for various reasons, and so the secondary choice is Capital One. Now, I want to be very clear to you why I've chosen these two, because you'll notice in my strategy, I'm going to put you in the Capital One ecosystem. And the reason is because it carries so much weight in the credit system because of what Capital One has done, has built, and has become in the credit industry. So either Discover It or Capital One. Now, here's how you're going to use this card, and this is critical. First and foremost, you will never go above 30% of your available credit at any time during the month. Never. If you do, under the new systems for 2026, it's going to hurt your credit. In 2026, we're looking at FICO 10T and Vantage 4.0 models that are trended data models. So we're looking to see what are your trends. If it looks like you depend too heavily on credit, you're out there using 50%, 60%, then you pay it all down before there's a report, the algorithm is still going to note this has been your mode of operation, and it is still going to cost you. So it's very, very important that you do not, under any circumstance, go above 30% of your available credit during the month. Second thing, on your statement date, you will be under 10% every single month. Under 10% on your statement date. The system says 30%. Do not listen to that. That is going to keep you right where you are. You're going to be okay, but it's not going to build you. So the strategy that we have is under 10%, never use more than 30%. Now, that's what we're doing there. Now, let's go to tier 3, because now your scores following that process, you're going to get to 580. And when you get above 580, you're in tier 3. So 580 to 630, this is very, very critical space to be in. You notice that it becomes a little bit easier to get certain approvals and things, but you are not trying to go after this, because whatever you do in this stage, you're still going to pay higher interest. And this is where, in the background of your thinking, you must be always aware this is an interest game. You don't want to be doing a lot, getting a lot that's going to have you paying a lot of interest, because if you do, you're going to find that your money is going right down the tubes. But not only that, the algorithm is aware that you don't understand how the system works. So what should you be doing? So we're looking for lower utilization. So that card that you had just gotten, that is a secured card, we're going to be retiring that card. We're going to bring it down to 0. We're going to be putting it in the drawer, because I want you now to apply for Credit One Bank. That's the preference. There's 2 backups. The backups is First Premier or the Patel card. You could do that. And I think it's Petal, not Patel, Petal, I think. That's what I believe it is. But that's a typo there. So, but the key here is the preference is Credit One Bank, not the First Premier or the Petal card. I want you in the Credit One Bank, and here is the reason why. It is in the Capital One ecosystem. So if you get this credit card, you're in the Capital One ecosystem again. So again, your responsibility is to take that card that you had before. That's that secured card. You're going to take that card and you're going to bring it to zero, put it in your drawer, and then what you're going to do is start using this Credit One Bank card. Here's how you're going to use it. Same rules apply. You are going to, and I mean, this is so critical that you don't forget this. You are going to always, at any time during the month, make sure you are never above 30% of the available credit on this card. This is your game changing behavior. This is you teaching the algorithm something. Listen to me very carefully. The algorithm is looking to see if you need credit. The way you get credit is you're going to teach this algorithm, I don't need it. How can they tell you don't need it? Because at no time during the month did I ever go above 30% usage of my available limit. And second point, on my statement date, I was under 10%. I made those things a habit. As you're making this a habit, you're going to notice quickly the algorithm is learning your pattern because you did this with the secured card. And now here you are again, 580 to 630. You're doing the same thing. You're not applying for any other credit cards. You're not applying for any other loans. At this time, you are aware where you are. You are aware how to act at this particular place, and you're teaching the algorithm the most important lesson you can teach it, which is I don't need credit. Now, that's what you're doing there. Now, let's get to tier 2, because if you practice what we were just talking about, your scores are going to get to 631. And at 631, you've crossed into tier 2. You're now in the place of opportunity. There's a few things that are going to happen here that are so very essential and important, but you've got to follow strategy. You're learning the tiers of credit, but you're also learning how to use it in a strategy that's going to guarantee you a 760 credit score. So here we go. 631 to 680 is tier 2 credit. Now remember, I created this for my clients so that they could navigate quickly from wherever they were to a 760 credit score. So you're going to have better approval odds and options when you're in tier 2. You're going to have opportunities to even get entry into funding if you've got a business and your personal is at this level. But we're using a strategy. And here's what our strategy is. We're going to add strong cards in this tier. So at 631, I want you to go to CapitalOne.com. You're going to look to see what could you get approved for with a soft pull. There's not going to be any hard inquiry. They're going to do a soft pull, and you're going to find yourself approved for something from Capital One. Now remember, we are in the Capital One ecosystem. We've had their Discover secured card or their Capital One secured card. We've got the Credit One Bank card. Now we're getting a legit card because we're 631 and above. Whatever they approve you for, you take it. But here's what you do. You take that Credit One Bank card that you have and you pay it down to zero. Put it in the drawer. Now remember this. Never let a credit card close. Those two credit cards that you've had up to this point have more history, time on them than the current cards you're getting. So you keep them open every once in a while. Pull it out, put a little gasoline on it, pay it off again, put it back in the drawer. Don't let the card close for lack of activity. So now we've got the Capital One. This is what you got to pay attention to. You got to make sure that you follow the strategy that we're using. Never at any time with this Capital One credit card will you go over 30% utilization at any time during the month. Do not listen to anyone if they tell you that doesn't matter. Not only does it matter, it is critical that you never go above 30% at any time during the month. When people give you advice out in this social media world, they're paying attention to old rules, 2024, 2023, 2025. We are in 2026, the year of trended data. And in trended data, it is important that you teach the system, I don't need credit. The best way to teach the system is in what they give you 30 to 33% for in your score, and that's utilization. You show them, I'll tell you how you can see that I don't need credit, is that I'm not using above 30% at any time during the month, even though I'm bringing it down to under 10% on the statement date. I'm not using a lot of it during the month. This will require you to treat your credit card like it's not a part of your budget. Your budget is based on the income that you have coming in. What you're doing now is you're building a strategy that's going to take you to a 760 credit score, the simplest, the most intelligent way for you to get there. And now, I promise you, by the time you started doing this third card this way, the algorithm, the credit system understands how you operate. They now know, because you have proven to them, this person isn't going to use more than 30%, and this person is always going to be under 10% on statement date. So it's going to accelerate your scores, and it's going to accelerate your opportunities. But you are not going to go for anything and everything that they are going to teach you. You see, you got to understand that opportunities come when you're managing and you're teaching a system. Listen, credit is a system. You can't afford to act like it's not a system. I talk to people every single day that are applying for multiple cards. Here they are at 635 and they're applying for multiple cards, just trying to see what will work. I am telling you today what's going to work. It's a strategy. And when you use an effective strategy, the system rewards you by giving you the things that you need. So now let's move forward. Now in this tier 2, there's some things you got to understand. So 631 to 650 is capital 1. But at 650, because we're in the stage of opportunity, you are now going to add another card that's going to accelerate your growth, accelerate your scores, accelerate your opportunities. So at 650, you're going to get one of 3 card opportunities, one of 3. These are my recommendations in the strategy. You're either going to get a second Capital One, you know how to do that, a Navy Federal, or a State Department Federal Credit Union. One of those 3, because the last 2 are going to give you huge credit limits, great ecosystem to be in. It's outside of the Capital One ecosystem. And so here's one place that you can go outside of the Capital One ecosystem and still see tremendous support. If you go with the second Capital One, it's not going to be a huge credit limit, but it's going to add major strength. But here's the deal. When you get this new card, that Capital One that you got at 630, you're going to pay it down to 0, put it in the drawer, but never let it close. You're going to keep that card open periodically, pull it out, put some gas on it, go to the store, get a meal, pay it down to 0, put it back, because it has history, it's got time on it, and it's benefiting you in our strategy. But now you've got in your mind one credit card that I can pull out and use, and that is either the Capital One, the Navy Federal, or the State Department Federal Credit Union. That's it. You're going to make sure I'm never above 30% at any time during the month, and I pay my payments by the statement date, not the due date. I am under 10% by the statement date. This is going to cause you to always be climbing in your approach to credit. Now, if you're watching this today, it's very, very important that you understand this, because listen to me very, very carefully. People who have struggles and problems and challenges with credit, trust me, it's not really that you have a problem with credit. It's that you don't understand credit. First of all, I want you to get this. They're going to lie to you by saying a credit card. It's a debt card. You have to treat it like a debt card, because that's the way they're judging you. They're judging how you handle the opportunity to get in debt. And when you get in debt, how do you manage debt? And so what you're going to show them is that, you know what? I don't get in a lot of debt. I never use more than 30% of one card. You can look at me and see I've got 3 cards. I've got 4 cards now. And 3 of those cards are getting no activity but every once in a while. And the other one seems to be something that when I pull a card out, it's the one I'm pulling out. They're going to see that you are extremely organized, structured, and you manage very, very well. And you obviously have a strategy, because there's 2 things that have been true about you since you've come into the system. 1, you never use more than 30% of your credit at any time during the month. And 2, you never be above 10% on your statement date. And this system is going to reward you for how you handle your credit. Now, listen, you've got to be thinking ahead. This entire process is because my goal is 760 with a solid credit profile that's not thin. I'm going to have some strong things. Now, here's what happens. A lot of people, somewhere between 630 and 680, get a car loan because they need a car and their credit is decent. They're able to get an approval. But I want you to understand, people who do that, or you came into this knowledge and you already had a car loan in your life, those loans typically are going to be with subpar lenders like Santander and other companies that charge you high interest. They approve people with lower credit scores, but you pay so much more in interest. So again, I want you to understand that the car loan is an installment type of credit, and the credit card is a revolving type of credit, and that is strengthening your profile. So if you've got a car loan and you're sitting between that 630 and that 680, and you've got these credit cards that you're putting on, make sure you're never late on the car loan, never, ever late on the car loan, and make sure you are under 10% on your statement date for this card. Now, by using this one card this way, what's going to happen is you're going to move up. You're not going to stay there. You're going up to tier 1. You're going up to tier 1. This is the tier I call leverage. Now, tier 1 is critical. It's when your credit scores are 681 to 850. This is the biggest tier, but this is the tier where most people mess it up. I kid you not. Client after client after client gets above 681 and gets stuck. They get to 705, 710, 715, and they're stuck. They never get to the target, which is 760, because here, the first thing they do is a mistake. When you get to 681 and you've crossed into tier 1 credit, you got to start thinking leverage, better terms, access. Now, if you have a business, that's a different track. Today, I'm not going to speak specifically just along the lines of business, but if you're 681 and you got a business, you got to start thinking access. Access. I've just opened up a door to access to capital. If you're just an individual, you got to start thinking better terms. How can I get better terms with what I already have going on in my credit profile? Because terms are going to give you a quick jump in your score. So it's important. So let's talk about how you do this. So what are you going to do? First thing I want you to do, you've got a secured credit card with Discover or Capital One. You've got a Credit One bank credit card. You've got a Capital One credit card, and either a Capital One, a Navy Federal, or a State Department Federal Credit Union card. You're going to contact the credit card company for each credit card you have, because at 631, you qualify for lower interest rates. I want to say it again. At 681, you qualify for lower interest rates. So you're going to contact your companies and you're going to tell them, I've been a good customer with you. The amount of time that I've been with you, I've never been late on any payments. I'm not excessive in the use of my credit. I'm a great manager. I'm a very organized person. I would like to have you lower my interest rate. Do not ask for a credit limit increase. You don't need it. You have a strategy. I want my interest rate lowered. They are going to do it. And here's what's going to happen. When interest rates go down it signals the system something about you, and scores and opportunities are going up. This is why this is the leverage tier. Here's the second thing I want you to do at 681. If you've got that car loan, which I anticipate most people will, you are now going to call Capital One in the ecosystem, Capital One Auto Finance, because you're going to want to refinance that car loan into the Capital One ecosystem, where you're going to lower your interest rates. You're going to have a much better reporting system for the credit. And this is important. It's an opportunity and it's an option, but it's an option that many people, because you're with a Santander type company, you're going to save major if you refinance it at 681. So not only you're going to do those things, but you're going to keep using the card, the Capital One, the Navy Federal, or the State Department Federal Credit Union, until you get to 710. Keep using the same system with that card. Now, what's going to happen when you do the lowering of interest rates and the refinance? It's going to put you around 705, 706 right there. But you're going to keep managing this the proper way. And what's going to happen is it's going to get you to 710. At 710, this is what I want you to understand. From 710 to 760, your assignment is to add 3 credit cards to your credit profile. 3 credit cards. Now, I'm going to give you 6, and there's only 6 because of the ecosystem that they operate in. There's only 6 credit cards to consider here. Don't even worry about any other credit card. This is because your goal is 760 with a robust credit profile that will get you money anytime you look for it. And this is how you do it. So here are the 6 cards you can choose from: American Express, Chase, Bank of America, Citi, Wells Fargo, and Discover. Now let me just suggest this to you. The Discover card is in the Capital One ecosystem. So you're going to pick 3. I would make sure one of my 3 is a Discover card, because it's going to give me even greater strength in my profile, because now I will have gotten at least minimum 3 cards from the same ecosystem. And if I took the second Capital One at 650, I've got 4. So you are leveraging. You're saying to the system, I've got the only company that's got credit cards on all 4 tiers, and I have those 4 cards in my credit profile with excellent management. It's a message that's a killer message in the algorithm. So here's what you're going to do. At 710, you're going to apply for your first card. I don't care which one of the 6. I'm suggesting to you, though, one of them should be Discover. So you're going to apply there. In 6 months of good usage, never over 30%. Now let's make sure we understand first that when you got approved for this, that card that you just had, that Capital One or Navy Federal or State Department Federal Credit Union, you're going to pay it down to 0 and put it in your drawer. Don't let that card close. But now you're going to be using this one card that you just got, and you're going to do this for 6 months, never over 30%, and always under 10% on your statement date. This is going to help you crush this algorithm. Now, I want to say this to you. This is very, very important that you understand this. So here we are at the most critical point. This is the place where most people lose this battle, between 710 and 760. And the reason they lose it is once you're over 700 credit score, the credit system is no longer paying attention to you based on score. They are now looking at you based on what's in your profile, your management style, your data points. So 65% of your credit score, Vantage is a little bit higher, FICO is 65%, Vantage is 68%, is simply based on whether you're on time with your payments and whether your utilization is proper. Now, the way we're crushing this 65 to 68% is that we're never late. We're early. See, we don't pay attention to the due date. We're watching the statement date. So we never use more than 30% of our available credit, and we're under 10% on the statement date, which is 20 to 21 days before the due date. So we are always early. We're teaching the ecosystem we don't need credit like that. I use it in a very organized way. So let's just say you put the Discover on right now, or you put on the Chase right now. You're going to get a big limit. You're going to get a much larger limit here than what you were getting prior. The only thing close to it is the Navy Federal and the State Department Federal Credit Union. They can give big limits, but not like what you can get here if you've managed appropriately. So you're not going to go crazy because you could go buy a car with your credit card. You could even purchase some property with a credit card. You're not going crazy. I am after a strategy that's going to allow me to use their money to put assets in my life. So I'm not going to go crazy. So what you're going to do is 710. Here's my first card. 6 months of excellent use in our strategy. I'm going to add the second card. Now here's the difference when you're in this tier. When you're in this tier, you don't pay it down to zero and put it away. What you do is you start using the second card more. It becomes your primary. This one here, you do pay it down, but you continue periodic use of it. So in this level, you're showing them, because here's what you should be doing. When you start picking cards between 710 and 760, you're picking them for strategies. For instance, it may be because this one has great travel points. It may be because this one gives you cashback rewards, so you use it with groceries and you use it on your utilities because the cashback. But you have a strategy for why you picked the card you picked, and so you continue to use it in that strategy, but make certain never above 30%, always under 10%. That card that was your first card, you want to be much under 10% on the statement date, because your primary is now this second card that you got. 6 months later is going to be your last stop. The moment you apply and get approved for this third card, most people are somewhere between 760 and 765 on their credit score. But that's not the big story. Not only are they there, those individuals now have trained the ecosystem. Something that is key about you is that, you know what, I learned something. I'm not borrowing like I'm level 1 with a level 4 strategy. I have a tier 1 approach, not a tier 4, a level 4 approach. My approach to everything I'm doing now is based upon me realizing where I'm actually at. So let's go back over something that is very essential. If you're with me today, I appreciate your questions. If you're not subscribed, this is a great time to subscribe to the channel, because I'm telling you, we're going to help you elevate. And this channel is going to go up, 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 because we're going to continue to provide great insights, great information. So if you're not subscribed, do me a favor and subscribe right now. Like this, because I want more people to get to see it. But let's go over some things that are critical and important to you. There are 4 tiers of credit. The first one is tier 4, 579 and below. This is the worst tier that you can be on in credit, but it is not a hopeless tier. This is the tier where you're starting to say, wait. I'm getting connected. I've got to operate a certain way. And here's the way you operate. You're going to get a secured credit card, and you are going to keep that card under 10% on statement date, and you will never use more than 30%. The secured card that we recommend you use at 579 and below is the Discover It secured card. This is critical and important. You cannot afford under any circumstance to mess this up. If you're there, you're going to get that Discover It secured card. And then you're going to be 30% usage, never above, 10% statement date, never above. That's what you're doing at 579 and below. I don't care if that means you're at 520. You keep doing that with this card until you get to tier 3, which is 580 to 630. Now, at 580 to 630, what you're going to do is apply for the Credit One Bank card because it puts you in the Capital One ecosystem, which is where I want you to be early on, because there is no credit card company that adds the weight of Capital One. This is why they don't give big credit limits, because they bring power to the foundation of your profile. Trust me, there is no company. Listen, I want to say this to you. I want to say this to shake you. I hope you never do this. There is a system called Synchrony. Synchrony is all about store credit cards. So if you go to this store, that store, lumber store, retail stores, and you get the store's card, it's usually approved in the Synchrony system. Stay out of the Synchrony system. Most people, when they get to 580 and to up to 630, they enter the Synchrony system. They get approved for some store card. It's going to throw off your profile. It is not strength. You don't need a store card. You can use your Credit One Bank card in any store. And you want to be never using more than 30% anyway, and you want to be under 10% on your statement date. So we're now looking at ourselves. And I'll show you this again because it's very, very important that you see it. So you're at 580 to 630. I want to make sure that you get that 580 to 630. And here's what you're doing at 580 to 630. You're setting your mind up that, look, I'm going to add this Credit One Bank and I'm keeping it the way I should keep it because I'm building consistency. I'm training the system how I operate with credit. We're going to move on. We told you about that. And then we told you that you move to tier 2 when you get to 631. 631 to 680, better approvals, entry-level funding. This is opportunities, opportunities, opportunities. We told you what to do. Add the Capital One. Retire the Credit One. So you're going to add it, and you're going to retire that lower level card. You're going to put it in a drawer. You're going to only use it for gasoline so that it doesn't close, or to go to a restaurant so that it doesn't close. But you can see the goal here remains the same. I don't care where you are in this process. The goal is the same. Here's the goal. I'm going to get the credit card. I'm going to keep it under 30% throughout the month, and I'm going to have it under 10% on the statement date. Now, I want to explain this to you because this is important in this strategy. People get confused all the time about when I say under 10% on the statement date. I need to slow down and explain this to you, and I need you to go and look this up in your ecosystem of credit cards. The due date and the statement date happen in every month. You have a due date and a statement date. So we're in the month of March as I'm recording this live. In the month of March 2026, you have a due date and a statement date. But here's what you need to know. The system is not going to tell you. I'm going to tell you, and I want you to go verify it for yourself. They will not be from the same billing system, not from the same billing cycle. They're different billing cycles. Let me explain this to you. In the month of March, what I see as a due date is from the prior billing cycle. What I see as statement date just ended the current billing cycle. So I'm going to have a due date from a prior cycle and a statement date from the current cycle. I am teaching you in this strategy, you're going to get connected to the statement date, which means you're going to get ahead. People who pay and wait for the due date are paying behind. They're allowing the grace period to go where they could make payments without getting charged any interest. The time between your statement date and your due date is a grace period. You can pay there with no interest. They're letting that go, and they're waiting to the due date as the system wants you to do. But you're not going to do that because you are getting your 760 the fastest way, the most intelligent way, and the way you do it is you get connected. Now, here's what I'm going to give you assignment. I want you, for every credit card that you have, I want you to go and find your statement date. It's not your due date. Your due date is 20 to 21 days later. Your statement date Here's how you find it, because they're not trying to get you to see it. They want you to see the due date. The way you find the statement date is go to your bill. Whether it was sent to you by email, whether you got to log in to see it, or whether they mailed it to you, open it up. Look at it. At the very top, the date that is at the top, the date it was printed, that is your statement date. And it will be the same every month. Your statement date goal is to have the credit card under 10% when that prints. Under 10% when it prints. And here's the reason. 3 things happen on your statement date. They're going to send you the bill, they're going to charge you interest on the balance, and they're going to report you to the credit bureau. So since they're going to report me on the statement balance, why am I waiting for the due date, which is 21 days later? Let me get in touch with the system and what they're trying to record. And let me show the system that I'm aware of what's going on. So you will never pay your credit cards based on due date. In every month, there is a due date and a statement date. However, they're not based on the same billing cycle. The due date is a prior billing cycle, which means in terms of credit for my strategy, I'm late. The statement date is the last day of the current billing cycle. So I don't need to wait to get it in the mail. When it comes in the mail, I'm already past the statement date. See, they put the date on the top of it and they printed that date and then they send it to you. Well, typically, unless you get it delivered to you digitally, you don't get it on that day. And if you get it that day, it's still too late because you can't make it so that the payment is under 10% on the statement date. If you pay now, they're going to credit it tomorrow. So what I want you to do is to note, when is my statement date? And then you make sure that next month you're 3 days early with that payment. That's going to bring you under 10%. Or pay earlier, whatever you got to do. But make sure by the statement date every single month, you're under 10%. Now, credit people may not share this. The credit system is definitely not going to share it. Because on your bill, they're going to make sure to highlight the due date and an amount at the bottom. And that's where you're going to go look. You're looking at the top. That's the mindset I want everyone in here to have. I'm looking at the top. I'm not looking at the number at the bottom. I'm looking at the date at the top because I should have already paid by that date. And since I may not have done that this time I got the bill, but next month, I know that's going to be the same date. 3 days before, I'll make sure my credit cards are under 10% because I'm teaching this system. I don't need credit. I'm going to leverage it. Now, what's going to happen when you get 760? You're going to have options. See, because now I go to the bank to get money, not just to buy possessions from me. I go to buy assets that put money in my life. I go to buy assets that I can put other people in. I go and get an FHA loan that I can get a duplex and put somebody in who's going to pay for it. I go to get money so that I can invest in other opportunities, business funding, things of that nature. I qualify for the best at 760. But in order to get to 760, you've got to build consciously. Well, I certainly hope that today you have enjoyed this. I appreciate you being with us on today. Appreciate your comment. I appreciate you being here, liking this video. I appreciate you sharing. Listen, we are going to do some phenomenal things right here on this channel. And you want to be connected because my goal is to help business owners and individuals align credit, business, and life so the money flows. What I'm teaching today, and last week was my first live in the same ecosystem of credit, they're game changers. If you apply what was shared today, you come back in and you tell me in a few months, what is it doing? Listen, your credit is your responsibility. If you keep hearing yourself say, they messed my credit up, they hurt my credit, you're never going to ever do what I'm talking about. To do what I'm talking about, you've got to start saying, I didn't know. I didn't understand. I did it wrong because now you get the power. When you have the power, you can do like this guy. When I was 17 years old, I went to college. I got credit card as soon as I turned 18 and had no financial literacy training, and I tanked my credit. 529 credit score at 18 years of age. For 18 months, though, I studied consumer law. I made sure to understand the system and how it worked. And after those 18 months, I fixed my own credit. I wrote a booklet. I started a business, and I started teaching seminars to help other people do the same. 37 years later, here I sit, sharing with you insights. I've helped thousands of people. I've got thousands and thousands of followers in my TikTok world. But I'm coming into the YouTube algorithm because I want to share these principles, foundation principles, structure and strategy principles that are going to help you get where you want to be. Listen, don't listen to people sell you these cheap concepts, quick things you can do. No. This is about you taking responsibility for your credit journey. And I plan to see you at 760 where you're leveraging. So if you haven't seen this entire video, go back, watch it, take notes, take it personal. If I've said things that you're not doing, apply them, check them, try them. I promise you, you're going to teach this ecosystem something about you that's going to cause them to reward you. Well, listen, it's my pleasure to be here every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, to share great insights with you that I believe are going to help you level up credit, business, life so that the money flows. You be blessed. Have an awesome, awesome day. I look forward